Fort Hood, home of heroes, is tonight quiet. It is the quiet of a community of soldiers and their families in shock and sorrow, the quiet of a crime scene, the quiet after a massacre, what is believed to be the deadliest mass shooting at a U.S. Army base ever. It happened early this afternoon. At least 12 people have been killed, many more wounded. Most of the casualties, soldiers, some of them preparing for deployment overseas. And they were targeted by one of their own, it appears. The suspect shooter, Major Nidal Malik Hassan, an Army psychiatrist. There were reports earlier that he had been killed during the rampage, but officials revealed tonight in a surprising twist that he survived. He is in custody. He's in stable condition with gunshot wounds. Our coverage of the tragedy here at Fort Hood begins with my colleague, Ryan Owens.
As soldiers preparing to head to war gathered for their final medical exams, their last-minute paperwork before heading overseas, one of their own walked in and opened fire. The gunshots started at 1:30 in the afternoon inside what's known as the Soldier Readiness Center at the Army's largest military base in the United States, Fort Hood, Texas.
Attention, seek shelter immediately.
The shots were at close range, fired by a trained military officer with deadly accuracy. With two handguns, the shooter killed 12 and injured 31.
It's a terrible tragedy. It's stunning. As I say, as I've gone around to the hospital here, as I've been at the scene, the soldiers and family members and many of the great civilians that work here are absolutely devastated.
The victims, most of them soldiers, were unarmed, unable to defend themselves. A responding police officer finally opened fire. She injured the suspect and silenced the shooting. Victims were rushed to hospitals across central Texas, and overrun emergency rooms pleaded for blood donations. There were rumors of other shooters. The entire base was put on lockdown. Children at the base's 9 schools were kept inside. Their anxious parents gathered immediately at the front gate.
It's really disheartening to be, you know, something's going on and you can't get to your child.
It's very, very stressful and we don't know what's going on.
By mid-afternoon, the president and top military leaders were briefed on the largest mass shooting ever at a military base.
It's difficult enough when we lose these brave Americans in battles overseas. It is horrifying that they should come under fire at an Army base on American soil.
Allegedly by one of their own. Military investigators say the shooter was not some young soldier who lost it over the stress of heading to war. Quite the contrary. The suspect is a 39-year-old Army officer, a major named Nidal Hassan, a military psychiatrist trained to help soldiers in his unit. Investigators initially said he'd been killed in the exchange of gunfire.
Preliminary reports indicate there was a single shooter that was shot multiple times at the scene. However, he was not killed as previously reported. He is currently in custody and in stable condition.
One of the soldiers he hit, 21-year-old Kira Bono, seen here smiling on her MySpace page. Her mother says she and her husband spoke with their daughter on the phone shortly after she was shot.
She was actually saying, they shot me, you know, and was actually really upset that they had shot her. So I think she was actually more mad and upset that she got shot and then, you know, scared. I think it happened so fast for her and she actually got injured.
More than 6 hours after the shooting began, lockdown was finally lifted at Fort Hood. And for parents like Cynthia Wood, she couldn't help but think of her husband, her young son's father, who is fighting in Iraq.
He has enough to worry about. We worry about him. And now he was over there all night. He has to get up at 5 o'clock to do a mission. And he has to worry about whether or not we're okay back here where he left us, where he thought we were safe.
I'm Ryan Owens for Nightline at Fort Hood, Texas.